Well, what's up, everybody?
What's up?
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Welcome to another Victory Experience podcast. We're your hosts. Who are you? Beautiful, voluptuous, gorgeous, awesome, outstanding, phenomenal. Who are you?
I am your Victoria's Secret
You
model.
are not you are the
No, I am his Victoria's Secret
one and
model
only.
that he calls Pastor Aisha Edmondson.
Can we correct that? Every time we walked in a restaurant yesterday and I said, my wife just came in, she's a Victoria's Secret model, beautiful. She said, "Oh yeah, I know, follow me."
They just wanted to be nice
and
to you.
They brought me right to you.
I was the last person that
Nope, that is not the case.
And you are my boo thing.
You're what?
Bishop, my boo thing.
Say my name. Say my name.
Lord Jesus, help me. Y'all see what I deal with? Help me. Bishop John Edmondson, and we pastor one of the best churches on the planet, Victory in Christ Christian Center, located in Westville, New Jersey, Deptford Township, 5 minutes across the Walt Whitman.
Here we go. Here we go.
And Franklin Bridge. So if you're ever in the area, come and check us out live. I'm also glad to say that we are also certified Christian marriage counselors as well, which is why we love to do a lot of topics many times on marriage as well, because it's near and dear to our heart.
We've helped and talked and ministered and shared with a lot of couples down through the years.
And we'll be married, 32 years?
32 in a little while.
Months.
Can you imagine?
And
32.
Together for 41.
Where has that time gone? Mm-hmm. It's like, man, it's been great, but where has it gone? Like, wow. So that's who we are, and we're glad you're with us today.
Yes.
And if this is your first time, would you do us a favor? Would you subscribe?
Yes.
We're building a Victory Experience nation.
Like, subscribe, share with somebody else.
Get the word out.
It can be a blessing too.
I think these topics, man, are so helpful to people across the board because it's applicable on all type of levels, even what we're going to share today. So do that, hook us up, help us out, get the word out, and again, subscribe so that you're notified when we drop new content, because this stuff really will help you no matter where you are. Even if we're doing, because we do different podcasts. If it's a married podcast, it's not just for married people. If you're not married, it gives you great insight. But then we do other topical stuff too that just applies to everybody.
I think what's awesome, especially when it's come to marriage, we've been sometimes talking about different things topics that people want to hear about. We've also talked about different topics that we have ministered on throughout, I don't know, the last 20 years that we have done marriage conferences and different retreats. But I know that we also would love to hear from some of the people out there.
100%.
What are some of the topics that you would love
that you want us to talk
about on some of our future podcasts?
So put it in the chat.
Yes,
put it in the chat
and let us know.
Because you may your comment may be selected.
You never know.
Maybe not, but it may be selected. Don't be married to it.
Yes.
But put it in the chat. Hey, won't you guys consider talking about this? Because we might just select your topic and create a whole podcast around it.
I didn't realize. I looked back the other day. I think we've done already, about 30?
We've done a variety of them.
Yeah,
we're
it was
building
a lot.
I didn't realize we had done that many.
I didn't realize how many we had done so far.
So a lot of great content for people to go look at.
So if you missed any of them, go back and look at some of the ones that we've done in the past. A lot of great content.
And I love the fact that we just talk, and so people get a chance to see us and how we are. We laugh, and one of us cries sometimes. It's not me. One of us cries, tears coming out like crying in a good way.
Sometimes, you can't help yourself. I try to be prepared with my tissues, but sometimes I forget, like today. So prayerfully,
hopefully we don't cry today.
Prayerfully you don't make me cry.
Hopefully
today.
we don't cry today.
Okay.
But the crying is from laughing, like we have a good time. So, but let's jump in. Let's maximize our time. Today is good. Today we're doing a marriage podcast. So don't tune us out if you're not married, because you need this.
Oh no, because you want to know how to deal with this
before you get married.
Before you get married or going into your marriage. I think, you definitely
so don't go, I'm not married. No. You need this. What are you talking about? Today we're going to talk about how to affair-proof your marriage.
How to affair-proof
your marriage. And this is a very, very important topic because affairs happen all the time.
Yeah.
All day, every day. Affairs happen. We can't tell you the number of couples we've had to deal with where an affair happened by one or both of them. Both of them. And
it's so interesting because it's like you said, it sneaks up on them. And it's just a matter of time. And it's interesting, over the 20 years that we've been doing marital counseling, you can tell no matter how much somebody denies whether or not they having an affair.
You lying.
And they be lying, and you like,
I'm not. You're
there's
lying.
no way
Yeah.
if all these things are happening that you're probably not
You
having an affair.
You're lying.
And
you're
then
lying.
you're like, okay, but it just doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
there's nobody else.
And then
You
it's a matter
lying.
of time, it just comes out.
Yeah, it comes out.
It just comes out.
And we're like, why did we just waste all this time? Cut through the
So,
drama.
you know, these are things that we've seen over time. It's statistically proven. And so we want to help people on things they need to do, things they need to take note of, and things they need to do to help affair-proof their marriage.
Yeah, and I can because I've had an affair. I've had an affair. Another woman drew me away from you. It was Aisha. Aisha.
Aisha.
Had an affair with you. But no.
Or Maria.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Maria.
Maria Aisha.
That's my middle name for those who do not
but
know.
even though we're laughing, it's a serious topic. It's a serious topic. So let's dive in.
Okay.
How do you affair proof? Or is it possible to affair proof, or is it just inevitable that an affair is going to happen? How do you affair proof your marriage? So let's first talk about warning signs.
Yeah,
because there are warning
I think
signs.
we have been, me and you, some of these things it's so innate in us.
Yes.
Now that
Yes.
it would be a shock if it did happen.
What, for you and I?
Yes.
If it happened to us?
Because of how we are so ingrained of doing
Yes.
the steps we take to affair-proof our
Yeah,
marriage.
right. We're right. Not that we're above it.
No, we're not above
But
it.
we've taken steps to affair-proof it, like
Yes.
child-proofing a house.
Yes.
We've taken steps
That's
to
a
affair-proof.
great analogy.
Yeah.
It's very similar to how you have to child-proof your house. You have to affair-proof your marriage.
Yeah, and I thought, speaking of child-proofing your house, I thought we were past that. And Christian is the one that gave us the problems. Everybody else was good. Christian was like an alien. Gave us the problem. Remember the one time, he stuck something in the outlet?
He stuck with a fork
And
or a
we
knife
hear,
or something.
pow! And I come running in and he's like, I'm okay, Daddy. I'm like, I wish he got
Was that
electrocuted.
the only outlet that we just happened not to have?
I think
those
so,
safety
but I
covers
forget
on
how
at
old
the
he was.
time?
You think we're past that? Like, what are you doing? Stick another one in there,
No,
son.
he was still
Do
he was
it
a
again.
toddler.
So
no,
and
that made him not want to do it
it
anymore.
did. It made him not want to do it again at all. Learn sometimes life lessons are good teachers because I don't think he'll ever. Okay, anyway. All right, but there are warning signs.
Yes.
So just, again, we got off topic, but just like you having kids, you start to have kids, you bring babies home or your kids, you got to child-proof that home.
Yeah.
You got to child-proof your marriage. You got to affair-proof, rather, your marriage so that it's safe and it doesn't get electrocuted, so to speak. So
Amen.
let's first deal with it because there's warning signs. There's warning signs of a potential affair, and meaning you can see it coming.
Yeah.
This is how we know when it's happening because we can see the signs. We can see it when we're dealing with couples. You can see it, and so let's talk about. So what are some of the warning signs?
I want marriages to be prepared, like just because. But you want to be careful because I could see some married couples right now as we go through these warning signs. I knew it.
Yes.
I knew it.
Hey.
He's probably or she's probably having an affair.
If the shoe
Don't
fits.
go to your
If the shoe
spouse and say,
fits.
are you having
Nope,
an affair?
I would.
Are you having an affair?
I would do it today. I would run home today.
Say, I think we need to talk.
Yeah.
You
I think
Maybe there's some changes we need to make.
Yeah.
Or
No, go home and just look at them and go.
You don't want to be so
accusatory.
Accusatory. There's a way I think that has to be maybe another.
I think you should just go and go, I know what you're doing.
I'm really
But that's true,
concerned
yeah.
about these topics.
Don't do that.
I think we're going to have our marriage ministry or marriage specialists, they're going to be
Jam. So yeah, that's a good point. Don't do that.
Yes.
Don't turn around because these are warning signs, but it's not ultimate. Don't turn around and we give you some of these warning signs and you go, and because it doesn't have to mean.
No.
It could mean. It doesn't have to mean. It just means
It just means maybe some adjustments you may need to
Yes.
make so that
Yes.
it may not happen.
Yes,
as
I'm glad
well.
you brought that up.
Yes.
But these are warning signs of a potential affair. If
Yes.
you see some of these things happening, then you have to go. Maybe
warning
something's
sign
going
and
on.
adjustments that you should possibly look at to make in your marriage so that it, to a fair point.
Like a car, if something comes up on the dash, a red
don't
light or
ignore
something,
it.
you don't ignore it.
Don't ignore
You don't
it.
go, oh well, it'll be all right.
Like my car.
Right.
Like you still have to take my car in for the
Your car,
the warning light that has come on
No,
a
it
couple
wasn't.
times.
It was the coolant light.
But it's still a light.
No,
it's still a warning light.
But I know what it is
of a
because I've taken it in twice.
I know, but you still have to take it in, right?
Yeah, they have to top off the coolant.
I know, but it still has to.
But
it's
you got
gone
a
off
really
couple
nice car.
times.
Why is your car doing that? You have a really nice car. Well, I don't like your car.
Because it has electrical issues.
I don't like it. Yeah, I know, and it shouldn't.
But it always still needs to be topped off. I mean,
Yeah, but it shouldn't.
Yeah. But
My car doesn't need to be topped off. I don't know what it is, which it's the devil. It's the devil. All right, let's go. So, all right. So, what are some of the warning signs? So let's talk about that. Okay.
All right.
What's the first one?
First one is
not the first one, but just a warning sign.
Yeah. Well, this is one.
It's not the first one, but
yes, it's not the
it's
first
just a
one,
sign.
but a sign.
Yes.
Is a drifting marriage.
What's that? Drifting marriage.
A drifting marriage is when I or my marriage partner start to grow apart.
So we really start growing apart.
Yes.
We go from growing together to growing apart.
Yes.
So when you feel like you're starting to just grow apart, you're starting to just drift apart. You feel like we have nothing in common.
Mm-hmm.
We're just kind of going separate ways.
Yeah. Like it's like, because, honeymoon part of your marriage, you're growing together.
Yeah.
Like I was just talking to Christian and Jovi, like, even when they're away from each other, they're always on the phone. I was like, don't y'all ever get tired of seeing each other all the time? But they don't.
I don't get tired of seeing you. What are you talking about? I don't get tired of seeing you.
But what I'm saying is that if at some point that maybe that changes, that could be a sign that maybe you're starting to grow apart.
You go from what you were doing to you're no longer doing it.
To no longer doing
at all.
And so you have to ask questions. Hey, why don't you like being on the phone? What happened?
Yeah.
To make sure that you haven't done anything.
They never want to be on the phone with you now, or they,
Yeah.
So, but see, I don't have that because I've always been this way. You've never been like that.
No, I've never been that way.
I've always been this way.
But I would have a concern.
If
I
I
would
stopped.
have a very big concern if you stopped.
Yeah, but
I'd be like,
you can't
wait
have your
a
cake and
second.
eat it too. That's
Why don't you?
Like this morning,
want to be?
I
with
tried
me
to
all the
kiss
time?
your neck. You're like, I'm trying to get dressed. I'm just trying to kiss your neck. I'm trying to get dressed. So you're like, all right, do it. Go ahead, just do what you got to do. Kiss it. Go ahead. Oh, no tissues. Don't cry. No tissues. So okay, so drifting. So that's now sometimes because
that means you were doing something that you both enjoyed, and then all of a sudden you stopped. Why did you stop?
Right.
You want to make sure you understand.
And it doesn't mean an affair. It could mean anything.
No.
Like we should do a midlife crisis podcast.
Sometimes people lie.
Right, they do.
They
do.
Especially if they are in an affair.
Yes.
They will lie.
Nothing's wrong. I just don't feel like doing it.
Yes.
But we got to do a midlife crisis podcast.
What kind of podcast?
Because sometimes people are going through midlife crisis.
Yeah, but you can understand that. You can, just like when I was going through, the menopause.
Was?
Yes.
Was.
Still is.
No, right, is.
But like I will say that to you, like, listen, it has nothing to do with you right now.
Right.
It's just I'm in that moment.
Danger, Will Robinson.
Yes.
Get away.
It's just a moment. But it's still, if it is, it should be just a moment.
Right. It's a passing.
It shouldn't be something that continues on forever.
Right. Right.
So
if that marriage drifts, it just starts, we're spending time together. We were always spending time together, or what our normal pattern is on the phone or whatever. And now, one of us doesn't want to be around the other. One of us doesn't want to be engaged, and be involved. And it seems like something's going on with you.
We used to always, hang out with each other on a certain day or a certain night.
Yes.
Whatever our normal patterns used to be, that all of a sudden we don't want to do those normal patterns.
So it's drifting. It's starting to change. And as far as I know, nothing has happened to cause the change, but something's causing the change.
Something has caused
That's
it.
a warning
sign. It's a matter
sign.
of you have to take the time to
Right.
identify.
Not ignore that. And so many times somebody doesn't want to say anything. You don't want to do that because something's going on and I need to find out what's happening. What's going on.
And usually if there is an affair going on, the person having the affair will say nothing has changed.
Yeah, nothing has changed.
Or I just want to do something different.
Yeah, nothing has changed. I need space. I need space or whatever. So, you
now,
know.
that could be true to some degree if somebody is going through the change of life, but you want to make sure you truly understand that and make sure that that really is the case.
Yeah. So, but do you need space for me?
Do I need space from
Yeah.
you?
In front of all of America. Do you need space for me?
I don't necessarily need space from you.
Tell us what you need. What do you
Maybe
need?
another part of the house for a moment.
That's not biblical.
Yes.
We're
that's
one.
It. Well, the
That's not
Bible
biblical.
says it's better for a man to dwell on the corner of a rooftop.
But that's in an
than
argument.
to be in the house. Well,
In the house with a what?
A brawly woman. So sometimes if
You feeling brawly?
depending, it could become brawly.
Let's right. Let's mount up. When the boys were younger, shh, everybody be quiet. So all right. So drifting. That's number one.
Okay.
Drifting.
Okay.
Here's another. What's another good one? Because this is. Go ahead and share. What's another good?
Excuses to continually be with someone
Lord
else.
have mercy. Now this is a serious one. Where somebody, they like you always are making excuses to be with somebody else, especially somebody of the opposite sex.
Yes. Well, today it could be somebody.
Yeah, but let's not go to that
a-
extreme. Let's just, because that's true. But let's just stick normal. So, all of a sudden now there's somebody of the opposite sex. You're continually saying, I need to be with them for something.
Because maybe that person feels that they have special feelings for another person and they're trying to find a way to see that person.
Now, I
and
think.
you're making excuses
Yeah.
to be with that person, all the time. But sometimes I will say this, when your spouse is working your last nerve, or when you have had times too that you haven't taken the time to resolve your issues,
Yes.
you could want to be with somebody else and there's not even an affair going on with them. Like you could want to be around your best friend all the time because you feel maybe your best friend, which may be of the person of the same sex, understands you. But you have to be.
But that's dangerous.
Yeah, that is dangerous because one of the things that we even talk about and the Bible can go into that adultery is not necessarily even in a sexual act.
Right.
But it's when you put something else before
Right.
your spouse.
Right.
And it could be a car.
Right.
It could be your best friend.
A sports
Or
team,
a
anything.
sports team.
Yeah.
What are you putting before your spouse is saying, I feel they're more important than you are.
Right.
So again, when we're talking about affair proof, we're not just talking about sexual.
Right.
But making sure that,
You could be having an affair with your car or whatever.
yes.
So, but I think this whole thing of if there's somebody outside your spouse, especially, again, the opposite sex, that you just constantly, your spouse constantly, or even let's talk to a person. This is hitting a person that you're constantly spending all this time with somebody outside your spouse of the opposite sex. That can be a problem. There's this whole thing that's very popular now called work spouse. My work spouse. Somebody I work with, and that's my work wife. It's my work husband. That's a dangerous
That is
thing.
so
Because that's not even biblical.
dangerous.
That's not even biblical, but that's very popular. You see that on Instagram now.
It could
and on
very
social media.
easily cross over
It
to
can.
something else.
But you are my work wife. I work with you. You're my work wife. You're my home wife. But it's like that.
Yeah.
This whole thing of being around somebody. Because here's the whole thing too. Your spouse deals with the real you. Other people don't. They deal with the real you all the time, all the time. And so, you got to be very careful. So if you notice, if you're listening to this and this is you or your spouse, and it seems like they're always finding a reason to be with somebody else, especially of the opposite sex. If it's not a problem, it can lead to a problem.
Yeah.
It can lead to a
But
problem.
a lot of times, like I said too before, that sometimes they can use excuses to be with something else or someone else because they don't want to deal with the issues
Right.
that they need to deal with
Right.
regarding the marriage as well. So that's why you have to sometimes identify. It may not be that somebody is stepping off per se. It could be making excuses also because they don't want to deal with issues that
Right.
they need to deal with even regarding
Right.
the marriage.
Right. That's good.
So you have to really take time to talk, identify, and confront so that you can make the
That's
proper
good.
changes that
No,
needs to
that's
be made
good.
as well.
Now that leads to another one that I think you were going to bring up. That's ties to this excuse to spend time with somebody else.
Yeah, preoccupied thoughts of someone else.
Woo, this is a real one.
Does it seem like someone else is constantly occupying your mind?
This is something
And
that
why?
reveals the enemy. The devil's nasty.
Yes.
You know, where there is another person that's
Mm-hmm.
in your mind constantly.
Yeah.
There's another person that you wake up and you're thinking about that person. Throughout the day, you're thinking about that person. At night, and I think the dangerous thing to happening to a person, you're comparing them to your spouse.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that we have talked about too before in counseling and just marriage seminars and conferences, is that in marriage, you have to be very careful about making sure that you don't talk about your issues, your issuations, or things about your spouse.
What are issuations? Issues and situations locking together?
Yes. I don't know why that just came out of me.
That's I'm like, what is
But
that?
you don't want to talk about them to other people, especially
Yes.
other people of the opposite
Yes.
sex. You don't want to talk to them about your parents. You don't want to
Right.
talk about them to people of the opposite sex or people even that you work with. They may say, because you may come into work one day and you may not look as happy as you did the day before. And
Yeah.
so they say, hey, what's going on? And then you start spouting off what
Right.
happened.
Right.
You know, and especially if it's somebody of the opposite sex, he's like, Dad, why he do that? You know, shoot, I don't do that. I would never do that. And then you start maybe fantasizing what it might be. You may not even think that momentarily, but as you continue sometimes to talk to somebody
Right.
and they start making you feel some kind of way, that is how it starts.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, most affairs happen with people that are close friends.
Right.
That's
I don't know if people
statistically
know
proven.
that.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's statistically
Yeah.
proven that most affairs happen with somebody that they're very, very close
Right.
to. And that's because they feel comfortable in
Yes.
talking to that person about issues and situations that they're going through with
Right.
their spouse.
Right.
And that's how it can happen even on their job.
That's true.
Because they're talking about, and that person's making them feel good.
Well, there's this intimacy
It's the-
that's
'cause
being
it's
established,
intimacy, again.
which is not sexual because
No,
we're
but
called
that
to be
leads
intimate
to-
with God.
It leads to that. And that's why
Right.
we say in marriage, there should be nothing that we withhold from our spouse.
Right.
Because you want to have intimacy with your spouse.
Yes.
Because if you're intimate with your spouse, and you're saying there's nothing that I cannot talk to you about, that's what helps you to be intimate in the bedroom.
Right.
Because you feel like I'm already exposed to you. You know everything there is to know about you.
Yeah.
Me, rather. So I can give myself to you. I want to give myself to you in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Think about the conversations you've had with somebody. And when you
Yes.
have those intimate conversations, meaning you have exposed yourself, not intimate sexual, but just, man, this person knows me. This person understands me. A part of you wants to give yourself over to that
Right.
person after a while.
Yeah.
And so that's why you have to be careful of who you have those conversations
Yes.
with,
Yeah.
with other people that are not your spouse, because it can lead to an affair. So this is another way of how you want to, of warning signs of not doing that so that you can help to affair-proof your marriage.
Now, while we're on this, I want to take a minute. We want to know, what do y'all think about this topic? Put some remarks in the chat. We want to know, what do you think so far? What we're talking about, man. What do you think about this whole warning signs we're talking about? Give us some feedback from your perspective. You're listening to us talk about so far drifting and excuses to be with somebody else, or being preoccupied. You know, what's your thoughts about this? Give us some feedback. We want to look in the chat and hear.
You're going to have some people are going to be on both sides of the fence, especially if people have friends that are of the opposite sex that
Yeah.
they've never had those issues with.
Yeah.
And the one thing that we can say in 20 years of marriage, the affairs that have happened were people that have had affairs with people that they never thought
They
that
never
would have
thought they
happened.
would have had an
and
affair
the
with.
spouse
Yeah.
was like, I trusted this person because
Yes. Yeah, because they were friends
They
of ours
were
or whatever.
friends, yes.
And the reality is, you can't trust anybody like that with your spouse. You can't trust anybody. That's why I'll never be with somebody of the opposite sex by myself. And most of the people, these are our spiritual sons and daughters, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And so again, put in the chat. We want to hear whether you agree, disagree. Put it in the chat. We just want to hear. This is no judgment zone. We want to hear from you what your thoughts, because maybe you're like, man, I never thought about this. Maybe you disagree. And then you're ugly. Now I'm messing around.
No.
But let us know.
And again, people may disagree, and it's okay to disagree.
Yeah.
It's just we're giving things that have statistically been proven and what we have dealt with over a period of time that we've had to walk through with people. To cause affairs.
Yes.
So if these are things that you can do to help affair-proof your marriage, then it can't.
It's worth consideration.
It's worth consideration, and then that doesn't mean that you lock off that person.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean. But if you're going to have conversations, you have them together. With your spouse.
Well, I think that's the key.
That is the key.
I think if you're married, it has to be, how does your spouse,
other person that you're in a relationship with.
How does your spouse feel about that relationship? Because even if you think it's okay, we've dealt with this. People, nothing's going on, we're just friends, but their spouse isn't comfortable with the relationship.
Yeah.
And the person says, well, you need to stop being jealous or this, that, and the other. And they totally miss the point that if any relationship I have causes my spouse to be uncomfortable, I should adjust.
Yeah, you should adjust.
So that they don't feel uncomfortable.
And that doesn't mean you cut off the relationship. You just should have that relationship with your other person
You just
involved.
have to have a balance
Like
with
example, if you talk to somebody of the opposite sex, I'm usually somewhere earshot. Of being able to hear that conversation. It's not like you're trying to have this conversation without me hearing it, because there should nothing be hidden. Unless you're trying to have a party for me. That's different.
Yeah, and you got to stop being nosy. Yeah, being nosy. But yes.
And you should say, hey, just so you know, I'm about to call such and such.
Correct.
And just be somewhere where where you're not intimidated if I'm listening to the call. But it shouldn't be a separate.
And you got to really be careful with this. I remember years ago, this is maybe 12, 15 years ago, you were meeting with somebody at the house. And you weren't at the house yet. I was home, and you said, hey, so-and-so is going to be coming to the house. I'm going to have a meeting with them. I said, okay. And it was, somebody we knew very well. So they arrived before you got home, and they rang the doorbell. And I said, oh, Pastor Aisha's, not here yet. Come on in. She said she's going to be in the next 5 minutes. And they were like, I can't come in right now. And I was like, and they were like, Pastor Aisha's not here. I was like, oh, you're right. I wasn't even thinking about it, but they were right. It was, because you weren't there. And, and that's how we teach people. Now, somebody listening to that may say, I think that's over the top. That's fine. We just have put our life in a way to affair-proof it, because things happen quickly. And things don't just happen. They happen intentional. But in the heat of a moment, something could happen that totally changes your marriage in one moment. So this whole thing of being preoccupied is a real thing. One of my friends who actually they went home to be with the Lord, Bishop Ben, but he talked about how being a pastor and different women that would be in his church, and they would come up and talk to him after service and greet him. And if he started he would, be thinking about that woman, he would tell his team, I can't be around her. I can't be around her. He was policing himself. That woman might not have done anything about anything, but it was him realizing, man, for some reason, that woman, I'm thinking about her. And being proactive on it to make sure that he did what he took to guard himself, because nobody's above anything. Even though I love you, I'm attracted to you, man. You're the most beautiful creature on the planet. I'm not above, and I'm not blind. There can be other women. I'm like, man, she's beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with that, but being mindful to not let your mind drift.
Well, doesn't the Bible talk about how the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, or something like that?
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Yeah, our flesh is a hot mess.
And it's interesting. The people that sometimes end up having affairs, they have affairs on some of the most beautiful women.
Their spouse is beautiful.
Yeah, their spouse is beautiful. That's what I meant. Their spouse is beautiful. They are
They're like Aisha Edmondson beautiful. They're gorgeous.
Yeah, and they're just amazing women.
And then you
think about,
And then they step off with, can I say a bugbear? They step off on a bucket.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Like,
But
it just made me think, like, I remember when they were talking about when I think Jay-Z stepped off on Beyonce. You know what I'm thinking? Some people are like, how could Jay-Z step off on
Yeah,
Beyonce?
I mean, it's...
But that's the type of,
because the flesh is a mess.
Yeah,
the
that's-
flesh
you know,
is a mess.
no one is exempt.
No, it's
No
not.
one is
That's what this whole
exempt.
thing is about. Knowing that you're not exempt. The foolish thing would go, oh, that'll never happen to me. No, you can't do that.
Nope.
Because you can't. You gotta. It's rather be safe than sorry. All right, we're running out of time.
Well, we're probably only going to get through the
Let's just
warning
get through.
signs
Yeah,
today.
let's get through the warning signs, and then we'll do part 2. Let's get through the warning signs.
Yeah.
Let's get through these last 2. What's another one? We got a couple more.
Putting yourself in compromising
This happens so
submissions.
much. This happens so much. People put
Yes.
themselves in compromising positions on all types of things. Being by yourself in a situation you shouldn't be by
Kind of
yourself
like you
in.
said that you could have almost put yourself in if you had let the person,
Yeah,
and
but many times they statistically, you can go look this up. Many times an affair starts by just me touching somebody on their shoulder, touching a coworker or somebody on their shoulder, and it goes from that to touching more often, and affairs happen 12 months ahead of time by conversation, starting to have, as you said earlier, these inappropriate conversations about my spouse, or saying things, making compliments that are taken the wrong way, or saying things, man, that lead to fantasizing thoughts or whatever, putting themselves in compromising positions. I have no need.
or maybe going to the strip club with your boys because your
Yeah.
boys wanted to go to a strip club, but you're married.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't put yourself in that type of position.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to be mindful of what you do, where you go, what you expose yourself to,
Right.
because it could make you more susceptible.
And I think nowadays you can do this on social media. You can do this on social media. You got to guard your eye gates.
Yes.
The Bible talks about. And as men, we're attracted to sight. We're attracted to sight. So, you got to be extra careful with this.
And that's why I think too, why you have to be cautious even with pornography, because
Correct.
a man may, or a woman too, may think, well, I'm not going out there, but if I'm watching it on a device,
Correct.
watching it on your device is still putting yourself in a compromising
100%.
position, because then it starts bringing those thoughts
And images. Yeah.
which could make you then want to do something you shouldn't do with somebody you shouldn't do it with.
Correct.
And then all they got to do is the opportunity may just present itself when you're not
Yes.
even thinking about
Yes.
it, but because you put yourself in a compromising
Right.
situation,
100%.
then
100%.
it could lead to it.
100%.
So you just want to be mindful in not putting yourself in situations,
Yeah.
compromising positions that could lead to it.
Correct. And we could talk. There's so much to that. But then let's give one more. Let's do one more.
Body language.
Body language. Body language.
Body language speaks sometimes even more than what you say.
It does.
People many times are sending out messages.
Yeah, they, and I get that. I can tell there's women in our church who are just waiting for me to say something. They're just, you can tell by the body language, by the looks, that they give. Like, you could tell when somebody's like doing that. You can do that. And that's why the average pastor, statistically has slept with 3 people outside their spouse, because all of that is there, because people are attracted to what they see, not what they know. They see and they think, they see somebody on a platform and they start creating how that person is, and they're not like that. And so body language, can, and even the body language going back to your marriage, giving all this body language that I don't want to be with you. I don't, there's this coldness, so all of a sudden I'm not talking to you, I'm not engaging you, I'm only dealing with you as my spouse to the level I have to deal with you on. That's a warning sign. Something's going on. And people need to remember, if something's going on with your spouse, there's always somebody else that's willing to try to help them out. There's always somebody else. So you got to go, man, something's going on with my husband or my wife. And as a guy, men are egotistical, women are emotional. A woman is very vulnerable when her emotions are all out of whack. So, this you can't say my spouse would never do that, because nobody's above anything. And in a vulnerable moment, anything's possible.
Yeah.
So now, as we're closing, you may say, well, I just think this is the extreme. No, that's fine. You have affair proof your marriage at whatever level. This is coming from years of experience and dealing
years
with
of
couples.
Counseling,
all of this
years
stuff.
of research and statistics.
Research,
Yes.
statistics, and real life situations.
Yes.
Every one of these, we've dealt with couples that have had an affair
Yeah.
with every one of these that we've given.
Yeah.
So, so you take it for what you want. It's just food for thought. And again, we want to know, what you think about this stuff.
Yeah.
We want to know, do you think this is too extreme? Do you think, man, this is on point? Let us know. We really want to know your thoughts on
Yeah.
what we share today.
So this is only part one of how to affair-proof your marriage.
Yeah.
We talked about warning signs. Now, in the next episode, we're going to actually start building on now the things to do in order to
affair-proof.
make sure you affair-proof your marriage.
So also, don't forget, man, let us know some topics. We want to know topics you want us to talk about, man. Put it in. No topic is off limits. Just put it in, and maybe, just maybe, your topic will be selected.
Will be selected in the future. We would love to hear some
we
of the
do. So
things
put that in. And don't
that
forget,
you
like
wanna
and
hear
share,
about.
man. Subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe.
Get the word out.
Get the word out.
All right, we got to go. We are out of time. This was good, man. I thought we'd get further than this. We did
I thought
not.
we would have got further,
It's
too.
too juicy. It's too juicy. So
But
listen.
it's things that people need to know. A lot of people don't know.
They
and
don't.
then they end up getting stuck in these
Right.
situations, and they get stuck in them because
Yeah.
they did not know.
That's so true.
We perish for lack of knowledge.
My people perish for lack of
Perish-
knowledge.
yep.
Not the devil.
Lack of
Ignorance.
knowledge. Ignorance.
All right, we gotta go, man. So check out the next episode. Be on. Be ready for when it drops, as we'll do episode part 2 for how to affair-proof your marriage. All right, we gotta go. This has been awesome, but we'll see you next time on the what?
Victory Experience.